I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I posted this video a couple of weeks, no, sorry, a couple of days ago, and it had some interesting comments. Um, Trump had gone to the Black Conservative Federation and had spoke, and he had said some stuff during the Federation that was a little funny, and some stuff that was a little, ooh, should he have said that type of thing? So, um, we gonna see. We're gonna see. This video right here is just a little bit of what the people thought about what Trump said at the Black Confederation Federation. Let's tune into the video and see what's going on with
I
this.
want to play something that the former president said last night to Black conservatives. Let's play that.
I got indicted a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the Black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. And they actually viewed me as I'm being discriminated against. The mugshot, we've all seen the mugshot. And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The Black population. It's incredible. You see Black people walking around with my mugshot.
That is some crazy stuff right there. I can't lie. Ooh, I don't know if he should have said that one. But you still got some people in the background like, as if he said something that we should be clapping for. And this is the delusional part about some of you Black people, some of us Black people, is that we just accept this nonsense that they're feeding us. Let's continue.
And Jake asked James Clyburn about that. Also, President Biden had said something recently. He said, Donald Trump has been showing Black Americans his true colors for years, an incompetent anti-Black tyrant who holds us to such low regard that he publicly dined with white nationalists a week after declaring his 2024 candidacy. Come November, no matter how many disingenuous voter engagement events he attends, Black Americans will show Donald Trump we know exactly who he is. What do you think of the support that he's been getting?
I don't think it's real. And I don't know if anybody else would disagree with me at this table. I do think that there are two different things that could be true at the same time. One is that the Democratic Party has for a very long period of time taken Black voters for granted. And there is a question right now about the energy that is behind Joe Biden from Black voters and supporting him in November. That is true. What's also true and can be said is that Donald Trump is a racist who utilizes racism as a political currency. I can remember going back in studio in 2016 when Jake Tapper was interviewing him about David Duke, and he acted like he didn't know who David Duke was.
Listen, I don't know who David Duke is. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if Donald Trump is racist, then a lot of people are racist. A lot of people. And honestly, I believe that everybody got a little bit of racism in them. But let's be honest here. Even Black people, Spanish people, Asian people, and white people. All of us have racism in us. It's just embedded in us from birth. All of us want our race to be the best. All of us want the best out of our race. All of us have something to say about each other when it comes to race. And it's just the honest truth. Both sides have rights. Both sides have some racism in them.
The eve of the Mississippi primary. The fact that he keeps, and even Lindsey Graham said it tonight, that, you know, black Americans have a propensity to commit crimes, et cetera, to hypersexualize us, to hypercriminalize us, to keep falling into these tropes. That is the type of racism that plays to the base of his party. He says these things to Black voters to their faces, the ones who are ignorant enough to be in that room, not talking to them. That's what people miss. Donald Trump is not talking to Black voters when he goes down these tropes. He's actually talking to white voters and to his base to churn them up and build in a lot of the resentment that we see.
No, I disagree with that. I believe he is talking to Black voters. He is talking to Black people. and he's being damn near absolutely blunt. We have terrible communities that do go out and shoot each other. Our inner cities are corrupt. Our inner cities are wicked. And it's not just the doing of white people, it's the doing of our own selves. It's black on black violence. It's not black people attacking white people. It's not black people attacking them or them or them. It's black on black violence. So I believe he is talking to some of the people when he says um, black people supported me because I had a mugshot. Because a lot of black people, especially in those inner cities, got mugshots.
A lot of the things that we see that are going on in this country about people who are coming out is because there's some fear that they're being replaced either by black or brown voters. And when you see him talking down to black folk in their face, there is a large swath of the American public who says, I like the way that sounds. And that's the currency that he uses. So I think two things can be true. The Democratic Party has been laying on their asses for too long when it comes to black voters. That is true. You're seeing that catch up with him. And Donald Trump's a racist.
Yeah, but what explains, I mean, I don't, far be it from me to explain, African-American voting, right?
Mhm.
But what explains his rise in popularity? And every poll you see, something has to account for that, right?
Well, a couple things. First of all, everything that you just said is correct, which is why the vast majority of black people, male, female, every category, are going to vote against Donald Trump again.
Correct.
So that's the big solid rock.
What up, stand up?
But there is this margin that's beginning to waver and beginning to move, which is what you're talking about. And I think that there are some people. Look, I mean, when he holds up the sneakers and does that stuff, I mean, Trump, that stuff is horrifying to anybody with good sense. But where's the motion coming from? I think there's some frustration in the Democratic Party that you're talking about, Bakari, that we've been taking for granted. That some of our issues didn't get taken seriously enough this time around, whether it's voting rights, whether it's police reform, et cetera. And there's some fatigue. And so, and I think you're starting to see that. I think there is this weird nostalgia that is about, under Trump, the pre-COVID, the economy was better. We got some criminal justice reform, and some of the stimulus support was well.
A lot of people want to see the economy go back to normal. And I think that is a lot of what the black issue is more leaning towards Trump with. I think that's why a lot of people in the black community want to see money in their pockets. And a lot of people in the white community want to see money in their pockets. And a lot of people are struggling right now. Everybody's feeling it. And they're trying to frame Trump as a racist. Okay, you can do that. You can do that. You can frame him as a racist if you want. But the words that are coming out of his mouth, it's real talk. We got to clean up our streets. We need a better economy. We got to be tougher on crime. Because if you go to Japan, none of this stuff is happening over there. I really liking your show. Thank you. Thank you for supporting me. I love you. I love you. Thank you for tuning in always. A lot of people in Japan, you can't even put a cigarette out on the floor in Japan. That's how strict they are over there. It is a super clean environment. Low crime. Barely any robberies. Barely anybody trying to shoot anybody. There's none of that stuff going on in these type of communities. But it seems like in our neighborhoods and in certain neighborhoods, it's very trashy, a lot of crime, and it must be stopped.
Welcome. So what's actually happening, though, is that there is an online influence campaign.
Correct.
Some of it, I think, is coming from Russia, China, and Iran that is whipping up that conversation way in unnaturally.
Yeah, but let me ask you again.
You asked the question, I want to answer it.
Go ahead.
So there's a solid block that's not going to move. There is some actual legitimate frustration and fatigue, but there's also, and we have to talk about it more, an online influence campaign designed to depress and distress black voters and to split and to split black
How about
voters.
just
Let me just put it on
immigration,
the
though,
screen.
things that
Since,
really
let me
interest
just look at poll numbers. 2000, going back to 2008.
It's completely different. I'm telling you, stand up. It's true. It's completely a different environment, and that's the type of environment that we the people want to be in. We don't want to be able to. We don't want to go outside and have to look over our shoulders and make sure we're not gonna get robbed and make sure we're not gonna get stood up by a gun. Like, we want to go to the corner store and we want to have our kids out in the streets running around. Like, this is what should be happening, but it's not happening in some of these streets.
Seeing some sort of a shift among black men siding with the Republican Party. We put that up for McCain, 5%, Romney in 2012, 11%, Donald Trump 2016, 13%, Donald Trump 2020, 19%.
Can I put it out there that it says black male support? And one thing we're not acknowledging is the growing gender divide that is happening across the board with partisanship, that men in general are trending more Republican, women in general, especially young women, are trending more Democratic, and that this is affecting. You could probably talk very similarly about Latino men, et cetera.
Yes.
So that's one thing. And the other thing is we do have a tendency to blow up this particular dialogue, which has been around for a very long time. There have always been black conservatives, and they've always made a very similar argument, which is that the Democratic Party takes you for granted. I actually don't hear anything all that new in this, but I understand what you're saying about optics, which I think is important to show that I'm out here just saying whatever, I'm not worried about microaggressions or wokeism or any of that stuff. I'm out here telling the truth. There could be lots of reasons why people might want to wear a Trump mugshot shirt. It doesn't necessarily mean.
I agree with her. Definitely, it is a lot more men, black men, that are leaning more towards Trump. There's definitely some black women too, but they're more Democrat, and I understand why too. People act like we can't be conservative, like we don't have core values, like we don't have biblical values. Hey Jen, how are you? But we have certain values also that we want to see come to light. We love family. We love the nuclear family, and this is what we want to see, and this is how we want to, and this is what we want to pass on to the future generations. And that's not just a thing in the black community, that's a thing in all communities. A lot of communities, every community wants to see family, structure, and a good balance of life, work, and play. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in.
It doesn't mean the Trump curious are not the Trump committed, and that's just something to consider.
There's a chance that the Trump message resonates with African Americans.
Well,
isn't there a chance?
Of course it is. But let's be realistic. But let's be realistic about what we're talking about. We're not talking about people just straight up waltzing over to Trump. We're talking about people who decide, I don't care enough about this election because I don't think either candidate will materially change my life. That is where the Trump curious becomes more important.
That's the frustration that I have, because Joe Biden has done a great deal for people of color in this country. And the disconnect is the messaging around the successes that he's had. And the fact that they're not actually out there, and they're trying to now, and they're getting around to that.
I just want to say one quick thing, and I know others want to get in. One of the great achievements, I think, of progressive black leadership has been to hold the black and brown communities together despite immigration. And that is beginning to erode. In other words, there was in the 90s, especially in California, there's an attempt to pit black and brown together, saying the immigrants are taking black jobs in particular. And we beat that back. We said, we're not going to let this economic argument put us in the camp, what we think is basically a fundamentally racist attempt to push brown people down and to create brown second-class citizens. And I think that was a huge achievement. And people now take it for granted that black and brown people are going to vote together. Because of what's happened, it's very important. Because of these Republican governors shipping immigrants into blue cities, and they're landing in black communities and in places like New York and other places, Black students are not able to go to schools and use facilities sometimes because this artificially manufactured conflict between Black and brown folks at the grassroots level.
Hold on a second.
Hardship
by Republican governors. Most
Listen, man. Listen. It's very simple, man. It's very simple. Give the people what they want, and they'll definitely gravitate towards you. It's that simple. And the Democratic Party has not been giving the people what they want. They've been giving some people, like the LGBTQ community, and those that are migrating over here. But the actual people that's been here, they're not doing nothing about the homeless situation. They're not doing nothing about the crime. It's sad. It's sad. It's not even being brought up, to be honest with you. It's not even being brought up. It's a fact.
of them are not transplanted as photo
we can argue about, but what
New York
what I'll
Times
say-
told me that.
but what we can argue
Well,
about.
then.
I think it's important now because
Absolutely.
Obama coalition and which you know more about than anybody else, and the Biden coalition assumed certain groups would stay together. And you are seeing some of that beginning to fray. We should be able to talk about it.
Can I
Yeah,
say
can
one
I-
thing
can-
on this
yeah.
quickly? Because when I was with Donald Trump, I remember he engaged in some of this very pandering language. I'd say offensive pandering.
Yes.
They are, man, and this is the thing about it. We can move on to the next subject, but this is the thing about it, man. They have the chance. They have the chance to grab certain sections. They have the chance. They have the chance to grab more white voters. They have the chance to grab more Black voters. They have the chance to grab more Asian, Hispanic voters. But the way they go about it, the way they're going about it is like they're acting like they don't really care.